We're ready. Let's go.
Hello, my friends. It's just the three of us today.
Stephanie was not happy before we went live. She was very upset at us.
Our poor listeners have to deal with us for 45 minutes, which is okay because these episodes where we are just the three of us, I think we get into some really good stuff. And, our episode today, we are going to dig into something that actually just came up yesterday when I was talking to a founder. And we're going to talk about founder-led sales. And that's really relevant to me because I think I'm going to sell my vacuum cleaner because it's just sitting there gathering dust.
She got it in first.
Yes, I did.
She got the first dad joke.
She got the first
dad
I'll
save mine for later.
Yeah, so you guys are going to have to find a way to strategically, which is what we do as founders, strategically work your not as good dad jokes into the rest of the episode. But I have another question for you guys. What, as founders, as people who have founded several little companies, what's your biggest fear about selling? Because there's stats out there that show that 78% of founders avoid sales conversations due to psychological barriers. When Buffer's Joel Gascoigne discovered his team was losing deals because he refused to do sales calls, he realized that his allergy to selling was costing the company millions. This founder's journey from sales phobic to revenue confident reveals the core truth. Selling isn't about manipulation. It's about value discovery. I love that. Today on How to Founder, we're going to be talking about founder-led sales, how to get past your allergy to selling as a founder. I'm your host, Stephanie Hayes. With me, unfortunately, today are my wonderful co-hosts, Anthony Franco and Chris Franks. And I won't tell you what we have now decided to call ourselves inside of our little show, but we're going to do something different today. No guests, just the three of us diving deep into how founders can overcome their sales resistance and build authentic revenue conversations that feel natural and effective. And I think we're also going to talk about why it's so critically important that founders get comfortable with selling. So first question, you guys. Anthony, I'm going to throw it to you first. Why do founders develop such a strong resistance to selling?
I think this is not just founder thing. It's a human thing. Most people hear the word sales and they envision the stereotypical used car salesman, and they don't want to be perceived as that guy or that gal. And so I think it's an ego thing where you're like, I'm not going to be that person that asks for business. It feels like asking my mom for money to go out to the arcade instead of flipping it around, flipping your job around to understand that it's not to convince people to buy something they don't want, but talking to people about what their problems are and seeing if you can solve it.
Chris, what do you think?
I think that Anthony is right in this one very rare case. This edge case, he's actually correct.
Let the record show.
The record show it is 8:04 a.m. in Denver on 8/7. The problem with everybody.
Your Honor, can you have the stenographer read back Chris's testimony?
Read again, please. Is if I say to you guys, hey, I want you to picture a salesperson in your head. What pops into your head?
Yuck.
Yuck. What? Anthony, what?
Car sales guy.
Car sales guy.
Flat suit.
Super
Glengarry
pushy.
Glen Ross, right?
Glengarry Glen Ross, exactly. Which is nothing could be farther from the truth from modern sales, but that's still the image. It's almost like we need a different name for this job, because the connotation around the word of sales just feels icky. And the reality is that's not the modern job of sales, but that's still what pops into our brain. And we don't want to do an icky job. Most of us don't want to do an icky job.
Well, yeah.
I had this aha moment yesterday with thinking about this. And that is, so what founders tend to do is they think, oh, I can replace sales with marketing and automate it so I don't have to have the conversation. But then I realized almost every single marketing agency has a sales team.
Right.
So I'm gonna just poke holes in this just a little bit, right? Because it's a yes and thing, because yes, for sure there is this perception that, oh, I don't want to be sleazy, slimy, salesy, gross. But I think that even the bigger thing, and I'm just thinking about my client I was working with yesterday, is that I think what's even more prevalent is that a lot of these founders come from either a technical background or some, like, they've come up with some innovation or some, invention or something like that, but they've never sold before. And so they feel this sense of responsibility and they don't know how to do it, right? They just have never done it before. And so they feel this weight of responsibility that they're going to have to carry the business doing something they just don't know how to do, or that they're not comfortable doing, or they don't understand and they've never done it before. So I think it's partially the cultural sort of implication of selling, but even for like the founder I was talking to yesterday, who she's like willing to do it, but she's like, I don't think I can add value here because I just don't know how. And so it's always just an education thing, partially.
I'm
But
going to call
also,
BS on that. I'm going to call BS on her. Yeah.
But also, like what we're calling selling, they're worried about the weight of responsibility for carrying sales, whereas we know that selling is very much about collecting information, like being able to show the founder's story. Like there's a whole bunch more to it, so there's somewhere in between, right?
Yeah, but also the truth is, so if you're dealing with a highly educated, in your circumstance, highly technical founder that doesn't think they can add value there, they understand the power of learning, and you can pick up a couple sales books and treat it like a craft. Like this isn't saying I don't know if I can add value means I don't want to learn how to do it. That's what I hear in my head. It's like I'm making an excuse to not go learn the craft. And I would have said that a little bit kinder if I was talking to that founder, but I would have called them out. It's like, no, you nobody knows how to do this, right? There is no such thing as a natural born salesperson. They all treat it like a craft and they all get better along the way. The truth is, a founder-led sales, how do I say this? A company that is led by a sales-minded founder has such an incredible advantage that it's not even fair. It's such an unfair advantage when a founder can sell. So it has to be something that founders do.
No argument there. No argument there whatsoever. I think, I think all three of us for once agree on that. Although I'm just speaking for Chris, but I do think they're like what we're talking about is why founders, have some resistance to. And I would say this founder was fully prepared to do it, but her fear was, and I think that exists in other founders too. Her fear was like, oh my gosh, if I'm the one who has to lead sales here, like I've never done this before, right? So I think that's just an education moment there. And she was reading all sorts of books going, how do I do this? And she literally hadn't budgeted for any sales and marketing for the next 3 years because she had read this book that says founders have to sell. So, there's a bit more reality to that for sure. Chris, what do you think?
It's scary. It's like, so if you think about the two things that you said, the first thing is that we have this connotation, this icky connotation around salespeople. The second thing is the act of showing up and presenting the service that you care so deeply about, or the product that you care so deeply about, and you're worked so hard on building this thing. It's scary to go do. It's scary to get out of your office. It's scary to present to people. And then in the actual sales environment, you're presenting to somebody and saying, will you please buy this? Because I desperately need this thing, this magical thing called revenue for my company to exist. And so that moment of possible and probable rejection can be a very scary and difficult thing to overcome, particularly if you're more of the product-minded founder and have not done the job of sales in the past. I think it's terrifying. I mean, agree or disagree?
Totally agree. Totally agree. Now, here, let's poke at this a little bit, because I think that there's a difference between selling and closing, right? And that is a way that some of that pressure can come off too, like in early stages when founder is still learning. I also think that there's something important that you said in there, which is this concept of authenticity. So as a founder, you may not be the person going in and eventually closing the deal, but for you to be there at the beginning and being able to communicate the why behind the business and speak from your deep expertise around why you've done this. I mean, there's nothing that replaces that kind of, truthful passion, right? Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, nobody knows your product or service better than you as the founder. And that's why founder-led sales is so powerful, is because one, your quote prospect, your customer isn't talking to a salesperson, they're talking to the founder. So They're going to be less, they're going to have less of a guard up. And two, there's also something about when a founder makes a promise, you can hold them accountable to that promise more than you can hold a salesperson accountable. So you just have this level of authority, earned and perceptive, than a salesperson might. So the other thing that I've heard a lot of founders say is, I hire salespeople and they never have the same close rate that I do. And it's like, yeah, no, duh. Of course they don't. They're not you. And you should, as the founder, have the highest close rate. I've heard as recent as last year, Larry Ellison still sits on phone calls, on sales calls. He still does it.
Because there's value. There's value in participating in the sales process, even beyond getting new customers, right? Chris, what do you think that value is? Why should a founder be the one to, what does the founder get out of participating in sales?
It's funny. I think that what we're hitting on is one of the things that has really emerged for us in all of our conversations in the last 6 months. Every time we talk about marketing or sales, there's one theme that continues to emerge, which is, in a world of AI, where I can generate content and I can generate copy and I can generate very good marketing content, the authentic conversation from a founder carries more weight than ever had in the history of startups and being a founder, right? Right now, people care more about your story as a founder than ever before. And so even though I didn't want to do that, I didn't want to be the person out front, I wanted to be about our team and our work, etc. The courage to step up in front of your business and say, I am the founder, I'm one of the founders, and this is why I did this, and this is my passion, and this is the reason why I work 85 or 90 hours a week, because I see this problem in the world. That piece, it works. This is the killer tactic in 2025 and beyond, is the founder telling their story. And again, remember, I'm the growth guy. I'm the one who is all about math and about the right ad at the right time, the right platform, et cetera. And that doesn't work anymore. The founder's story, I think, now becomes the lead piece in sales. And just one other piece, Stephanie, I think, and when we talk about this idea of being allergic, what we're getting to is actually this new definition of what sales is.
Exactly.
It's no longer this idea of we have to go out and persuade somebody to do something that they don't want to do. That does not work in 2025.
That never worked.
Yeah, it probably didn't work.
It never worked.
Yeah. But that's still in the back of our minds. It's the car salesman idea. This is what we have to do.
Yeah.
And the reality is that the modern job of sales is very, very different. I think that's what we're going to be getting to.
You said you're the growth guy. Can you just sit up a little bit? We are 312.
Oh God, I love our inside jokes.
So that's kind of what I was getting at, is that there's an education process for founders that are still kind of stuck in the Glengarry Glen Ross impression of sales, and there's a lot of value that someone can offer to those guys to help them understand what sales really looks like. But we were talking about this just before we started, and I was referring back to my client that I was working with yesterday. And so we kind of think about founders and founder-led sales in the context of like the typical sort of product company and tech bro and blah, blah, blah. But what about these B2B businesses that are like selling is like a very much like you're not going and making a presentation to a group of buyers, right? You are going and having a very nerdy conversation with a very nerdy person in a large corporation or a government agency or something like that. And it is very like it is only effective with the founder. It is only effective with the person who is like elbows deep in the technical aspects of this big engineering innovation or something like that. And she's never going to have consumer sales, right? Like consumer style sales. Her selling is always going to be through, presentations at engineering events and building relationships with partners and that sort of thing. So like, I think making founders aware of that is such an important thing, because she thinks about that. She's like, I could do that, right? I can go talk nerd talk to partners and like, the engineers at a big corporation or whatever. So look, if we extend our thinking beyond just the stereotypical version of a product company, how does sales look different, and what does the founder's role look like then?
I'll start, which is I disagree that there is a difference, which is so in this particular case, it's a technical led sale. She's a terrific technician, very, very intelligent, and her version of sales is maybe giving more technical presentations. But there's two things that you said which are critically important. Every time that she gets up on stage, there's two things that have to happen. The first one is I still would challenge her to tell her story, her why, even if it's a very technical why, to say, this is the reason I chose to do this. We are all inspired by founders. It's one of the reasons we do this podcast, is because it's incredibly inspiring to hear how people have disrupted their life to take this risk to try to make their lives better. So they need to continue to tell their story. But at the very
least, we inspire founders what not to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's for us.
How not to be in the world every day.
And this is the first reframe that I have, Stephanie and Anthony, which is being a salesperson in 2025 is being a teacher. It is about teaching people about the problem and the problem you're solving and why you're solving it that way. And that's the first reframe that I think is really powerful for any founder. Is founders love talking about their problem. They love talking about their solution. They love teaching people about it. That's what sales is. You just get an opportunity to go do that. You just have to do it in a way that's actually structured and organized versus just showing up and being like, show up and throw up sort of ideas. Anthony, what do you think?
I'm reflecting back on the podcast episode we just did and wondering if problem solution is the right order anymore. And also, let me also build a contrary opinion to what you just said. Teaching is not empathetic. So if you go into
what kind of crappy teachers did you have, Anthony? Do we need to have a therapy session?
Well, I know. I'm very close with a college professor, so I'm speaking from experience here.
Shame and guilt only. That is the most important.
I think let me put it a different way. I've seen founders make this mistake where they go in and say, let me tell you what your problem is, right? They go in with this, I know the solution. They go in thinking that they need to be the authority, and they make this mistake in tone. And the truth is you need to go in with deep empathy and try to really and there's also two types of sales. There's the type of sale that's in person, it's hand-to-hand combat. That's the kind of sale that I'm talking about. There's also the type of sale that you never actually talk to the customer. It's the conversion funnel, landing page, more CPG, consumer-oriented sale. So we're really talking about this hand-to-hand combat sale where you're talking to the end, talking to the end prospect yourself, big ticket items. And in that scenario, yes, you need to teach, but you also need to understand where they're at. I've seen founders go in and teach a CFO about accounting principles. Big mistake. Like you're now being condescending to them. So you have to be yes, teaching, but you have to give them something that they haven't. The truths that feel true when you say them, but they didn't frame it in that same way. And then you start working through how your solution is unique, but solves their unique pain or their unique problem.
I think the important thing you reference there is empathy, right? And I agree that in 2025, selling is like nobody wants to be sold to anymore. What they want to hear are stories and connection, and they want a relation. Like, I have a podcast episode I did couple of years or last year, and it was something I'd written a long time ago, but it was all about trying to understand and discover like who I was as as a professional. And I told the story of, early in my days, I would go in and sell, and all the men who are around me would be like, you can't sell that way. You can't be so familiar. You can't, like, we go in and it's like a battle. And I'm like, but I would close all the sales, and I would have customers who freaking loved me and would keep buying from us because I just used my intuition, and I went in there and I made connections, and I could connect with people really easily and really quickly. And so when you're listening to that person that's in front, and we weren't selling we were selling like technical stuff, right? It wasn't, it's not like I was selling relationship coaching or something, right? God forbid. So this concept of empathy in sales is so powerful, because the person on the other end is like, oh, they get it. Like they get me. They understand what I'm struggling with. Even if I'm like an engineer and what I'm struggling with is safety of our slopes, like whatever. So like, where's authenticity and empathy now? Because if we're giving important, tactical, useful advice to our founders who are listening, what are we advising them to do? What's the mindset we're advising them to get into so that they show up and they sit down in hand-to-hand combat and they're being effective?
I think that and this is the reason why I think I can say you can be a teacher, and you're correct, Anthony, in the sense that you have to ask questions, you have to show up with empathy about the problems, is that then after you realize that this is not a job where you have to go be Glengarry Glen Ross, you don't have to be scared of it. All you have to do is go in and tell your story and teach people about the product. That's when the skills come into play, and you need to learn the skills, and that's real. And there are skills that come along with this job. And those skills are, even if you're not great, if you're not super intuitive, if you're not somebody with a high EQ, you can learn to ask 5 killer questions before you're allowed to present. And that's like a very basic sales skills training, right? Which is, you don't get to present the product until you've identified at least one core problem that can be solved by the product. and you as a sales professional in this case, you can learn those skills. It's harder to develop that intuition, Stephanie, that ability to truly connect. However, what do we know? Know that EQ is not a fixed asset. We know you can develop and learn EQ over time. There's this idea of the growth mindset. Growth mindset can be grown and developed over time. And so that's when you can start to really build the skills that are needed around being a great salesperson. But here's the killer trick, in my opinion. The skills that you need to be a great salesperson, empathy, growth mindset, good leadership, good ability to communicate, that's also the skills you need to be a great CEO and a great founder. And so developing those skills is something you're going to want to do anyway. Anthony, where did I get it wrong?
There's no difference between selling a prospect on why they should buy your product and selling an employee on why they should work there. It's
completely agree. Yeah.
It's almost an identical sales pitch.
I sold more as a founder than I did with the person when I had the title of a salesperson. Like as a CEO, you sell every single day of your life.
You're convincing investors, employees, vendors sometimes, and customers why it's good to work with you, why you guys are different, what you value, all of those things, your story, all of those things matter.
So then when's the right time to start building out a sales team?
That's a great question. I'll ask you, Anthony, because I probably have a somewhat differing opinion.
So obviously to scale, right? When you're the bottleneck to growing revenue. And I would even say if you're waiting to that point, you've waited too long because now you're desperate and you're gonna hire the first guy the first guy that can sell you on why to hire him rather than the right person to take that role that aligns with the grit that is required by a salesperson and the value system that you have and hold dear within the company. I can't tell you how many times I've made that mistake where you're just like, I've worked in businesses where we didn't have enough leads and then had too many and then didn't have enough and then had too many. And the too many time is when you go out and hire bad salespeople.
Yeah. I was going to say the same thing, which is when you have too many leads where your time, you don't have the time to develop and close those leads. If you're losing sales because you are the person that is blocking it, the first thing you need to do is to bring somebody in that more of that SDR, that development role that sets up the meetings for you to close. And that's okay. You can, more of the logistics part of sales. Do that first presentation, get qualified, and then bring you in. But until you have too many of those where you can't close them, I still think it's got to be your job. And I'm also acutely aware that everything is your job as a founder. You're also dealing with the accounting and you're dealing with all these other things, but revenue is the thing that creates a company. Without it, there is nothing.
So to add to that, Chris, I view the founder's job as twofold. It's very simple for me. Have a product or service that people would be paying money for, right? Have something that you're solving somebody's pain. And second, develop a sales engine. Those are your two jobs. Everything else is secondary.
So I have a question for you, Stephanie. Is it easier to hire a salesperson or a product development or service development person?
The second.
Yeah, I agree.
It's easy to hire a salesperson. It's not easy to hire a good salesperson.
It's really easy to be sold on a salesperson. Exactly
we
right.
We actually, in one iteration of our consulting organization, I think we had, 50, 60 people working in the organization, and we had a sales team and we actually got rid of them. And we ended up just doing consultative sales because it was far more effective. We got much better leads. And that was how we sold. We sold as not necessarily the founders, but the principals. We were the founders of the original company, and then that got acquired and blah, blah, blah. But we ended up just like the salespeople were actually hurting our sales. So the question then, if I'm a founder and I feel this like anxiety about the fact that I need to sell, what's my best first hire? And I don't think it's a sales manager, but if I'm bought into the idea that a founder needs to sell, but I don't feel prepared. Who's my best hire? Who's my best first hire to work with me?
Anthony, you want to start, or you want me
Go
to?
ahead, Chris.
So I think it's the SDR type. I think it's somebody, an SDR is a sales development representative, and I know that this role has come back and forth and in vogue and out of vogue along the way. However, the person who can get somebody qualified from I am a lead to a qualified lead, if you can find somebody that can do that, and particularly somebody that can learn, is curious and good about the product, and you can teach the sales skills and you can teach your approach to sales, that can be a very powerful hire, because it saves you so much time in being able to just get on the phone with the people that are actually qualified leads. What do you think, Anthony?
I think the first person you hire is the person that's going to take the most off your plate that you can provide them a system to do. So if you're farming for leads yourself and that takes you a lot of time and you have a system for it, then hire the person that can do that. The first hire is not going to be somebody that you hire that can close. That's still your job, especially if you're doing all the selling now. But you should hire the person that gets you into more deals to close rather than helping you close. That would be the first person I hire.
But you're not experienced. So you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, I have to start doing this. I have to be the person going out to do that. I don't have anything to train somebody on yet.
Right. So then sell. Don't hire anybody yet. You're not ready to hire anybody yet.
Would you hire a sales coach? Would you hire someone who can teach you? Would you hire a mentor?
The first thing I did this. The first thing I did is went out and bought a bunch of sales books.
It obviously didn't work, right? But
yeah, I would. Before you hire a coach, how are you going to know if it's the right coach for you? How are you going to know if they're a good coach or a bad coach? You have to wrap your head around the domain of sales and the craft of sales before you are educated enough to hire anybody. You have to go hit the streets and figure out where your weaknesses are. So go out and make mistakes, go out and look foolish, read a bunch of books, and then decide, okay, I need a coach to help me in this aspect of sales, or I need a mentor to help me with this. That's fine.
I'm allergic to the word.
That's the process I would take.
We're talking about being allergic to sales. I don't like the term sales coach. And I understand it. And, I've called myself a coach and I've done that as well. But I really like the idea of a sales system builder, because you probably have not set up a CRM inbound lead to qualified, scored in the CRM system as a founder. If you haven't had to do that work, it's not crazy difficult. You can learn, but it's probably worth paying somebody a couple $1,000 to help you think through the stages of the sales.
Yeah, we know somebody like this, Chris. Yeah, right? I mean, Jay Mays, right?
Jay's a perfect example. He is
Jay's a great systems builder, and the reason why I hesitated on coach, Stephanie, is, and Jay's not a coach. Jay's a system builder. He goes in and helps build sales teams. A coach. The problem I have with coach is, if the coach was a really good salesperson, they wouldn't be coaching.
Okay. So I'm going to poke at that a little bit, because my business partner is she does a lot more than this, but she is a sales coach, and she's a dynamite salesperson. But so many of these founders that we work with, like we work with them on the whole kit and caboodle, their whole strategy and blah, blah, blah. But we divide and conquer, and she takes them and she looks at the way that they're selling, and she's like, okay, here's what I want you to do. And she mentors them and she teaches them new strategies because they're sort of floundering, right? And she sees the holes in how they're selling. Now, these are people who have been selling for a while, but she's up leveling. And all of a sudden, like, it's amazing how it works, because we're working with one client right now who was just, they were facing a big client who was going to walk away and leave their contract. And then she turned it around by giving them all of the advice on how to do it. So I think, like, we're starting up a private equity fund right now. And the first thing that we did is went and got in relationship with somebody who's going to mentor us through it, because it's such a, like, it's so foreign to us and we'd have no experience doing this. And we're going to get there much more quickly because we've got someone walking beside us saying, oh, do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that. So for these people who are like tentative, stepping out onto a ledge and going, oh my God, I don't know how to sell, having someone standing beside me in the room saying, okay, like, this is how we're going to approach it. Okay, I'm watching you. And then we're going to craft this. Like, doesn't that feel like a faster way to get there?
It's a great question. And I just look at, like, statistically speaking, if you're trying to find a sales coach to help you sell and you're an early stage founder and you have a low budget, the likelihood you're going to find a good sales coach is very low. It's
hashtag Team Stephanie, by the way. Look at the comment there. I think it's the. I was going to say, did we offend you? And then you just left?
Who did that? No, I'm not saying Team Stephanie isn't great. I'm saying the likelihood you're going to find that person is really low. It's just you, especially if you don't know what questions to ask them. You don't know what sales is. You haven't educated yourself. You have to be. Can you get lucky and find Stephanie?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not
There's no argument here. But like, having somebody, the most effective founders, this is not necessarily true, but I have seen founders do so well being in some of these mentoring groups, right? Like, if they're good, some of them are total garbage. A lot of them are total garbage. But when they can walk beside someone and they can say, hey, here's my, what are you doing? Here's my colleague or somebody who's my peer. Can you hang out with me for a bit in these sales calls and tell me what you know? Like, tell me what you see. How can I, up level more quickly? I just think that there's value there for sure, especially if you're nervous about it and you're not sure.
So I think there's two things that we're talking about here.
One more thing too, Chris. One more piece of advice. Sorry, Chris. Go find another founder to talk to that has been successful here and get their advice before you go hire a coach.
Okay.
And buy somebody a coffee.
Sure.
That's totally fair. But so there's two things that we're discussing. The first thing is this idea of systems building. And I think there is tremendous value in having somebody help you build a system that has done it and gone through it and figured out what's gone wrong, et cetera. The second is you are struggling with building the skills, and that's real. And you can do YouTube videos and you can read books, but I learned to sell by doing role plays, and I did 1,000 freaking role plays to learn the process of sales.
It's also how I found his wife, but that's a whole nother story.
It's a whole nother story.
Sit up, Chris.
I accidentally walked in and Chris was dressed in a Little Bo Peep costume, and I can't unsee that.
Speaking of, I told my wife to embrace her mistakes, and she gave me a hug, which was so. The idea there is that how do you then develop those skills? In some cases, you can go to Toastmasters and learn to communicate better. You can do interactive tutorials. You can learn processes, but working one-on-one with somebody does have value. Where I start to balk is this idea that you as a founder don't already have the ability to develop those skills. If you think you can shortcut it, great, go hire a great sales coach. But otherwise, just go through the act of actually honing and building the skills around the underlying skills that you need to be a great salesperson.
Not only do you need to have empathy for your customers when talking to them, you have to have empathy for the process of selling. And there's no better way of doing that than actually doing it.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Polish before release.
Oh,
Okay. We could go on forever, but we're going to go to the speed round. This has been a really awesome conversation. And because you're not agreeing with me, I'm going to move to the speed round. Okay. You're both going to answer these questions
okay.
one by one in the most authentic and truthful way you can think of. All right. Value discovery or hard close?
Yes.
Both.
They're impossible. Script talks or wing it?
Both.
I would say it's more authentic if you wing it. Just have a conversation. Don't.
Yeah, but script it first, and don't follow the script. Truthfully.
No, but I agree with you because the process of scripting gets you thinking through what get you feeling prepared, and then when you eventually do this enough times, you can see what resonates. Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Listen first or pitch first?
Listen.
Always listen.
Always listen. Ask for money or build trust?
Yes.
Who wrote these?
Build trust. It's weird that Anthony, who wrote this, it just says both on every one. It's you have to ask for money, or otherwise it's not sales. So you have to build trust, but that is the gate to be able to go ask for money.
Sales training or psychology work?
Sales training.
Yeah, I would agree. Sales training. I know a lot of mentally unhealthy people that make really good salespeople. So,
make it.
Why are you looking at me, Anthony?
Launch early or polish before release? Sorry. That's going to be on our speed round every episode. Okay, you guys. Who's got some founder fundamentals to share with us? Who's even doing? Chris?
I did. I took some notes. So the first thing that a founder needs to do to overcome the allergy is reframe what is the job of a salesperson. Understand that now it is about being a teacher and evangelist. You need to go tell your story every single time you have an opportunity to. Your story is the most powerful tool in any sales and marketing. And then use it as an opportunity to teach people about the problem in that way that you're solving it. Develop the underlying skills of being a sales professional. That includes questioning, listening, empathy, growth mindset. All of these things that are actually leadership skills actually will help you become a great salesperson as well. What did I miss, Anthony?
I've got two more to add. One short one long one. First of all, it's treat sales as a craft. Just treat it like a craftsman. And then I do want to talk really quick about the sales process the immutable sales process is the same for everyone, every founder. First, you have to find leads anywhere you can, and you need to do that hand to hand at first. So find 1, then 8, then 20, then you can start building a leads machine. Then you ask permission for your prospect's time, ask lots of questions, pitch using empathy and storytelling. And then the one that everybody forgets is you have to ask for the sale. You have to ask for the business. You have to give them a path, like this is what it looks like in order to buy the thing I'm selling you.
Okay, awesome. All right, we've got some deep dive resources. To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink. The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And The Challenger Sale by Matthew Dixon. Okay,
I'll add one.
Awesome.
I can't remember the author, but the Sales Bible.
Okay.
It's excellent. All
right, good. We'll add that one in. All right, good discussion, you guys, today. Obviously a topic that we could go on forever about, but so important. And, Anthony, Chris, where can we learn more about you guys?
I love the fact that you're now separating.
I'm assuming somebody would want to.
Right, exactly. We'll learn more about those two. Anthony, you want to get us out of here? You want me to?
Yeah. So you can learn more about us at the How to Founder website, howtofounder.com. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, LinkedIn. All of our LinkedIn profiles are there. And we're also on Apple and Spotify. And Chris, Stephanie, and I, we do this because we believe you, our listener, are the pioneer of economic prosperity, you, the founder. And we're truly grateful to be here along the way with you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Steph. Thank you, Chris.
Okay. See, talk to you guys next week.